What triggers hunger? Does it arise from the pangs of an empty stomach? So it seemed to A.L. Washburn. Working with Walter Cannon, Washburn agreed to swallow a balloon that was attached to a recording device. When inflated to fill his stomach, the balloon tracked his stomach's contractions. Washburn supplied information about his feelings of hunger by pressing a key each time he felt hunger pangs. When Washburn felt hungry, he was having stomach contractions. Can hunger exist without stomach pains? When researchers removed some rats' stomachs and created a direct path to their small intestines, they did, and in a human hunger, the rats continue to have hunger. In humans, hunger continues after humans have had their stomachs removed due to ulcers or cancer. So we find that the pangs of an empty stomach can't be the only source of hunger. So during the course of this small lesson, we'll be talking about the physiological and psychological causes of hunger. So hopefully you will be able to answer the following questions after you finish this lesson. What physiological factors cause us to feel hungry? How do psychological, biological, cultural, and situational factors affect our taste preferences and eating habits? And what factors predispose some people to become and remain obese? First, we need to learn and understand glucose. Now, glucose is, our body is always keeping track of the energy it takes in and the energy it uses. This allows us to maintain a stable body weight. A major source of energy in your body is the glucose circulating in your bloodstream. If your blood glucose levels drops, you won't consciously feel this change, but your brain, which automatically monitors your blood chemistry and your body's internal state, will trigger your feelings of hunger. So the glucose is the form of sugar that circulates in the blood and provides energy for the body tissues. And when the levels are low, we feel hunger. So, evidence for the brain's control of our eating, we find this when there have been various experiments done on rats. When researchers stimulated an appetite-enhancing center in well-fed animals, they begin to eat. If they destroy the area, even starving animals lose interest in food. The opposite is true. When the appetite-suppressing area is stimulated, the animal will stop eating, destroying this area in animals, and they become extremely fat. So the fat mouse on the left has non-functioning receptors in the appetite-suppressing part of the hypothalamus. So, how does the brain sound the alarm? The work is done in several neural areas of the brain. Some house deep within the brain, within the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus is the neural traffic intersection. So this, it kind of controls maintains various body functions, including eating and drinking. So one area pumps out appetite-stimulating hormones, and another center pumps out appetite-suppressing to try to keep our appetite under control, these hormones that are appetite-suppressing. The blood vessels connect the hypothalamus to the rest of the body so it can respond to blood chemistry. So it can kind of regulate our appetite depending on our blood chemistry. If we have low glucose, then we need to start pumping more of those appetite-enhancing hormones. So we do have these appetite hormones in our body. So we have ghrelin. Ghrelin is secreted by an empty stomach, and it sends the hunger signals to the brain. We have insulin. The insulin is secreted by the pancreas, and it controls blood glucose. And we have leptin, the protein hormone. It's secreted by fat cells, and when we have a lot of them, it causes the brain to increase our metabolism and decrease our hunger. So we're not so hungry anymore. We don't need to eat because we have enough fat to help, maintain our body functions. Then we have PYI, and this is the digestive tract hormone that sends that I'm not hungry signals to the brain. So Here is a diagram that kind of shows where each of these hunger hormones, where they're located, where they're actually regulated and where they're excreted from. And so we have these hormones that will influence our appetite and our hunger. So we need to talk about our set point. The interaction of appetite hormones and the brain activity suggests that the body has a weight thermostat. When semi-starved rats fall below their normal weight, this system signals their bodies to restore the lost weight. Their hunger increases and their energy output decreases, so they don't expend as much energy. If the body weight rises, as happens when rats are force-fed, hunger will decrease and energy output will decrease. They will try to, or energy output will increase. They won't be as hungry anymore because they're getting plenty of food and they're going to have more energy, so they're going to have more energy output increasing. So in this way, rats as well as humans tend to hover at a stable weight or set point. This is influenced in part by heredity. So this is set point is the point at which our weight thermostat is set. When your body falls below this weight, increased hunger occurs and a lower metabolic rate may combine to restore that lost weight. We will do everything we can, and that's why when people are trying to lose weight, it's really hard, because if their body wants to stay at the set point, they have to work extra hard to go under that set point. And this is in a lot of ways inherited. So we have a basal metabolic rate, which is our body's resting rate of energy output. So humans as well as other species may vary in our basal metabolic rate. This is a measure of how much energy we use to maintain our basic body functions when our body's at rest. With a decrease in food intake, our basal metabolic rate drops. When we reduce the amount of energy we are using, when we reduce our energy, we also reduce our food intake. So if you're trying to lose weight and you're not eating as much, your body's going to automatically kind of start to, your metabolism or your metabolic rate is going to drop with that. So, how do psychological, cultural, and situational factors affect our taste and eating habits? We've already gone over the biological factors that affect hunger and eating, but we don't really eat when we're hungry. We don't just eat when we're hungry. We also eat for other reasons. These are the psychological, cultural, and situational factors that cause us to eat or that affect our eating habits. Okay, so we have taste preferences. So first off, our body chemistry and environment play a role in our feelings of hunger and in what we hunger for, or our taste preferences. For example, our body chemistry. When we are feeling depressed or tensed, you tend to crave starchy, carbohydrate-laden foods or sweets. High-carb foods such as pasta, chips, and sweets help boost levels of our neurotransmitter serotonin, which has calming effects. We also have genetic reasons for our taste preferences. Our preferences for sweet and salty tastes are genetic and universal among all species. We just tend to really like those flavors. They tend to be high carb, high energy things that we need to keep our energy going. So it's learned also. Some of our preferences are learned. For example, people given highly salty foods develop a taste and like lots of salt. People become very sick after eating a particular food, and then they often develop a dislike for that food after they become sick, after eating it. We also have cultural preferences. A culture teaches us that some foods are acceptable but others are not. Bedouins enjoy eating the eye of a camel, which most North Americans would find really disgusting. And North Americans and Europeans don't like eating, we really shun horse, dog, and rat meat, which are all considered delicacies in other cultures. And so your taste preferences, a lot of them are determined by your culture and how you've been raised, things that you've learned as well. Now, obesity has health risks. It can also be very toxic. But we have to understand why we eat the way that we do. Friends, food, and activity all matter. We have environmental factors that are important on how food and activity and our culture and the people we associate with, whether we get enough sleep, and all these things influence obesity and our ability to control our weight. So we have our friends and food. We have serving sizes, make a big difference. And then we have selections. When you have a bigger selection of food, we will eat more. If you have a larger serving size of food, like on your plate, then you're definitely going to eat more. Also, when you're in a group or a social situation, people tend to eat more. So obesity, we need to talk about obesity and the health risks of obesity. It can also be something that's socially toxic as well by affecting both how we feel about ourselves and how others treat us. Obese 6 to 9-year-olds are 60% more likely to suffer bullying. Adult obesity is linked with lower psychological well-being, increased depression, and discrimination in employment. Yet few overweight people win the battle of the bulge. Why? Why do so many people gain weight while others eat at the same amount and seldom add a pound? So what predisposes some people to become and remain obese? Some of these on this little graph here, you can see some of the problems with obesity, some of the side effects, the quality of life, infertility, gout, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, some types of cancers, sleep apnea, gallstones, coronary heart disease, arthritis, diabetes. All these things tend to be a problem when people are obese. So we have a shortened lifespan. We reduce quality of life because we can't move around as much. Increased healthcare costs because there are so many health risks to being obese. Okay, so some of the factors that contribute to obesity. We understand that there are some major social and physical drawbacks to obesity, so why don't people just drop the excess weight? The reason why is their bodies fight back. So the slow metabolism, once we become fat, we require less food to maintain our weight than we did to gain it. Compared with muscle tissue, fat has a lower metabolic rate. It takes food less energy to maintain it. We also have genetics. We can inherit traits such as body type, and genes can also influence our metabolism. And then, of course, our lifestyle. This is the biggest problem with obesity. We have sleep, friends, food, and activity. They all matter. Environmental factors are important. How important food and activity is in our culture, people that we associate with, whether we get enough sleep, all of these things influence obesity and our ability to control our weight. So here's a few tips for weight management. People struggling with obesity should seek medical help, but for many of us who wish to take off a few pounds, researchers have offered these tips. So first, you begin only if you feel motivated. Exercise and get enough sleep. Sleeping is very important. Try to stay away from tempting food cues, whether it's parties, certain areas at work, certain things that make you eat, certain activities. Limit the variety and eat healthy foods. The less variety we have, actually, the less food we'll consume. Don't starve all day and eat one big meal at night. This will really wreak havoc with our metabolism. Don't binge. Control the urge to overeat. Before eating with others, decide how much you will eat so that you can control it. And make sure to connect with a support group. This will always help. People who are involved with support groups tend to do much better in any kind of program, whether it's dealing with addiction to food or addiction to drugs. Having a support group always helps.